Well, it is now time for weather with Nebraska Extension Ag climatologist and Market Journal's chief meteorologist, Al Dutcher. Well, Al, it seems like Mother Nature can't quite decide if it's spring, winter, or even summer over the past couple of weeks. How are things shaping up as we look to the week ahead?
Well, Bryce, we did definitely see a big roller coaster temperature ride during this last week. Of course, we had the storm system that moved through during the second half of this week, but we had that cool weather that hung in most of eastern Nebraska pretty much all the way through Wednesday before we started to see the temperatures warm. Further west, where we didn't have the cloud cover and we got a little bit more southerly flow, we've seen temperatures off and on in the 60s up to the 70-degree mark as we got through the first half of the week before we really exploded on terms of our temperatures back up into the 70s to almost the 90-degree mark. And of course, we had a little bit of light precipitation Wednesday night across portions of eastern Nebraska. Then we had the warm front starting to lift on Thursday night, Friday morning. That brought some rainfall to southeastern, east central Nebraska. And then we had the severe weather that started to outbreak here across central Nebraska yesterday. So that same storm system is giving pretty significant snowfall to the Dakotas and may actually give us a little bit more precipitation as we move through today. So let's take a look at the upper air models and see what we have in store. First thing I'll draw your attention is that big upper air level low over north central South Dakota. And we got the jet energy moving up through Iowa. That will help to generate a little bit of shower activity. And the biggest issue is going to be whether or not we see severe weather across eastern Nebraska with that cold front moving through. It appears it probably all means that most of that severe weather will remain from the Nebraska border eastward. And by the time we get into tomorrow, that upper level low moves quickly toward the Great Lakes. We get kind of a zonally type flow. So we're going to see it cool down, but not extreme. We'll be basically in the 60s across the south, upper 50s across the north, as we see that precipitation shield ever so slowly make its way toward the eastern Corn Belt. On Monday, we start to see some ridging taking place across western Nebraska. We're still under the influence of troughing across eastern Nebraska, so we'll stay in the 60s, low 60s across eastern Nebraska, probably pushing the mid 60s to maybe even 70s across the southwest as the precipitation basically lays out across Texas and up toward the Mississippi River Valley. Now, as we get into Tuesday, we start to see this ridge reeling back into the center part of the country. That's going to bring our temperatures up basically into the mid 60s to the low 70s across the state, warmest temperatures to the west. An absence of precipitation as that upper level low moves toward the northeast and the precipitation from it dies out. The ridge firmly in place as we get into the midweek period. Although a low is shown up in the Texas Panhandle to develop, there's just not enough moisture, longevity of moisture to feed up into the system, so we're really not looking at the way of much of any significant moisture across the Central Plains. And as we get into Thursday, that ridge starts to shift toward the central and eastern Corn Belt. That's going to keep us well into the 70s and possibly some 80s across the southwest as low pressure at the surface starts to develop over northern Montana. Keeps most of precipitation up toward our northwest. And as we get into Friday, now this upper level low starts to move across the Dakotas once again, get some energy moving around it. Low pressure at the surface over the north central Oklahoma and up into the eastern Dakotas. We'll start to move some moisture up, and there's a potential that we will see some thunderstorm development basically around the Nebraska-South Dakota line and points toward the east. Little bit of shower activity toward the south. Further out, 8 to 14-day forecast, with that trough moving into the northern and central plains region, we see cooler conditions continue across the east and to the west and warm to our south. And in terms of precipitation, below normal moisture over the Great Lakes, the southwest, and with that storm system moving in, we probably will start to see more significant moisture. Further out, the CPC has listed their preliminary outlook for the month of May in terms of temperatures below normal to our north, above normal to our south, and in terms of precipitation, a dry trend, although a big storm coming in for the first week of May change this dramatically.